Welcome into a brand new edition of the 06010 ESPN Communications podcast. I'm your host, Alex Feuz, and we are joined by Mike Monaco, ESPN play-by-play announcer. He'll be in Omaha throughout the Men's College World Series. Mike, if you were to explain to someone who isn't a college baseball fan what the experience of Omaha, Nebraska is like this time of year, what would you say to them?
Simply put, Alex, and first of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's incredible for any sports fan. Like, you don't have to be a college baseball fan. And quite frankly, like, you don't even need to be a diehard baseball fan. I think to enjoy the College World Series and the Men's College World Series, like, it's a special event. Middle of the country, you get eight teams, eight fan bases from all over. But for folks who haven't been, like, you just get fans filtering through. I had been told about this by multiple people before I even started at ESPN, like, hey, you would really love going to the Men's College World Series and just enjoying it as a sports fan. And that's absolutely true. Yeah, you get fan bases from all over. Like, downtown is packed. The ballpark is downtown in Omaha, which is a wonderful city. They know how to host it. This is the 75th year of Omaha hosting the Men's College World Series. It's just a great scene. You get so many people, and then obviously, like, the talent pool is really cool. And as we sit here and talk, like, we know what the field is mostly looking like as we sit and record. We've got seven of the eight teams in, and I think you're finding from college baseball to Major League Baseball that it is taking less time, maybe than ever, to go from college baseball to Major League Baseball. We're seeing it with stars who were in the college game as recently as a year ago, already in Major League Baseball. So I think from that perspective, for fans who go or fans who are, stuck listening to us on TV, you get a really high end of talent and prospect in it as well.
When did you realize this event was special?
First year, right away, like first game that I did in 2022. So this is going to be my fourth year. And yeah, it is a special, special experience. I think the first game I did, if I recall, was Notre Dame, Texas, on a Friday night, year one, which was a great game. And for me, I went to Notre Dame. Like, it was really neat knowing a lot of Notre Dame folks who were there from the athletic department and the fan base, and seeing where that program had come from when I was a student calling games. So yeah, that year was special. That year, Ole Miss won it all. And yeah, I remember, being on the call for them winning the national championship and, like, just looking around at all the blue surrounding us at Charles Schwab Field. Pretty incredible, like, the turnout from these fan bases. And that's one of the neat things to see is, like, LSU is going to be there. They're going to pack the place. We've got some former Pac-12 teams who are coming. So to see their excitement for their representation of, a conference that was and will be again, that's going to be pretty special as well. Arkansas getting back into it, chasing a national championship, highest seeded team remaining. So yeah, it struck me, to answer your question, right away when I was out there.
Take us behind the scenes. How does an event like this get put together throughout the broadcast teams, and what goes into it from your side of things?
It's really cool. Yeah, it's a real cool behind the scenes. I'm glad you asked that, Alex. We do things differently, like, you're getting ready from our perspective right now as you and I sit and talk. Like, I'm trying to learn eight teams, and some of them you've had over the course of the season, and some of them you haven't. And you're kind of looking at regionals and super regionals and seeing how the bracket might shake out. And there have been years where I've had almost every team in the regular season. And then years like this where I haven't had as many teams. So it's fun, like, you've been following them all season, and you know their stories, but to now really dive in. And then once you get there, to get to know the people. That's one of the things I love most about baseball, and specifically love most about college baseball. I think the college baseball community is really second to none for sports that I'm part of. Like, it's just great people, from coaches, players, to people in the media nationally, to our team at ESPN. I think our ESPN college baseball team is absolutely second to none. So to get ready for it, with those people and just get to know those characters in the sport is pretty cool. So Thursday, so games start on Friday, this June 13th. Thursday, every team has like an hour of practice time at the field, on the field. And then they're also going around and doing kind of like a car wash. They're recording stuff for the video board, they're doing stuff for social media. And as part of that, they also spend time with us from ESPN. So We get an hour per team. We go 8 hours consecutively, back to back to back, Tom Amansky style. And we get to talk with like 5 or 6 players per team. And you just get to sit down and hear their stories and kind of ask them whatever you want. And it's a real credit to, the format that we've done in my time at ESPN of getting that access with the players. And then every day on game day, we do meetings at our hotel with the coaches and very often the pitching coaches as well. So, like every day, they are thankfully and very kindly of them coming to our hotel and sitting in a big conference room with our production crew where we get to sit and talk to them for, 30 minutes and sit down and they tell us all about their lineup and their strategy and how they're going to approach their pitching. And maybe if they're in the losers bracket, like how they think their pitching is going to shake out, or why this guy is swinging it well at the plate right now. So it's just incredible access and really fun to be a part of from a production standpoint. And then just in terms of the game and the actual production, it's remarkable the access we have. We have 41 cameras for this event, like 41 cameras to see everything that's happening. We've got an amazing crew, so many of them who have been doing this for way, way longer than I have. Replay operators that give us looks of some really cool stuff. Slow-mo cameras, drones, like all this stuff. We've got this new camera we're using this year down the first baseline that's pretty neat. And I know our boss, Scott Gustafson, is excited about it. But yeah, you mentioned like the production side. Like it's the passion that our people have for this sport. Kyle Peterson, Chris Burke, who sit in the booth with Ravi for the national championship, like they ooze college baseball. And I would say like those two guys are as good as any analysts we have doing any sport at ESPN. It's just my personal opinion. And Ben McDonald and Eduardo Perez the same, and Chris Budd, Danny Wexman. We've got this whole crew, and I think everyone's just got a passion for it, and that starts with our boss Scott Gustafson. Like I said, like he's been on college baseball since 2010, like before this ballpark in Omaha was even around, and he loves it, and it comes from him on down. And yeah, we've got, as you can tell, I could go for days about this. We got a real special group, and it's a fun product to put out and to learn these teams and to tell these stories.
You mentioned the insane day of Thursday and what that's like. And as a broadcaster, that has to be also really exciting. You get the access, but it also could be a little overwhelming. How do you soak everything in that you learn on Thursday and apply it through the games throughout your time in Omaha?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So the day before on Wednesday, I typically get a list and our crew gets a list of all the players that we're going to have access to. So by that point, I have read about those players and dug into them. And then once I know the list, we can dive in even more before talking to them. So I try to go in with a plan of like, hey, these are the things I want to know from this pitcher, from this player, from Vahiba Aloy, the star shortstop at Arkansas, from Rock Chalowski, the superstar shortstop at UCLA. Like these are the things I want to ask them. And then, yeah, I'm a weirdo. So like I'm talking to you on this laptop. I am typing away on my laptop as fast as I can, without sending up alarm signals for the people I'm talking to. And just trying to remember, like if they tell me an interesting story or, hey, this person in my life has played a huge part in me getting to this point. This parent, hey, all right, tell me about, that parent. What's the spelling and the pronunciation of their name, just to make sure you're getting everything right. And then before each game, I'll kind of go back that morning and look over those notes and kind of put them into order in notes on my laptop in a Word document that I'll have up during the game. And then also kind of just put them in order in my mind. Like, hey, if this player comes up, how do I want to introduce them? Or when's the best time to tell this story? Maybe it doesn't make sense to do that story in the first inning. Maybe it makes sense the second or the third time that player comes up, or the second or third inning for that starting pitcher. Um, and then also to like listen to what the other colleagues of ours are saying, like Danny Wexelman and Chris Budden, who do an unreal job as sideline reporters. If I know that they're working on a story, well, maybe I can find a way to lead them to that a little bit better. Like when that player comes to the plate, maybe tease the story, and then that leaves open the path for them to get in and jump in the rest of the at bat. So yeah, it's kind of then like processing everything you have and trying to find ways to use it without also forcing it. Like let the game be the game and lean on the guys sitting next to you, Berkey and KP and Ben and Eduardo, and whatever they think is interesting. Like let's go there, like let's see what they think. and listen to them. They got way more baseball knowledge and have forgotten more than I'll ever know.
To your point earlier about big leaguers now that have played in Omaha, there's been a steady stream of that, of the extreme talent over the past few years that are now playing in the major leagues. Who could we be on the look for this year, possibly, of people we need to know about and players?
Yeah, it's a loaded slate, and our Kylie McDaniel, who is just phenomenal at what he does. He puts out these rankings and he updates them over the course of the season. And we had a loaded slate going into supers. Now, kind of based on the way certain matchups went, we're not going to see Jamie Arnold of Florida State. We're not going to see Liam Doyle of Tennessee, but Cade Anderson for LSU is seventh on Kylie's board. He's a sophomore. He's draft eligible, of course, as a sophomore. He's a lefty that's just elite, and you can see him being a frontline starting pitcher in the major leagues. And he's been, one or two in the country pretty much all year with Tennessee's Liam Doyle in strikeouts. Iva Arquette, shortstop at Oregon State, top 10 prospect. Mentioned earlier, Vahiva Aloy of Arkansas. He's a shortstop. He's projecting out as a top 15 pick. Gage Wood is a right-hander at Arkansas, pretty loaded as well. And then Brendan Summerhill of Arizona, another kind of top 30 prospect on Kylie's board. So we're seeing a ton of guys. And as I alluded to earlier, Jack Caglione, we've seen him in Omaha the last few years, and he is already up in the major leagues. He is that quickly has ascended. And Chase Burns, who we've seen in the past with Tennessee, and later he played at Wake Forest. He just went up to AAA this week as we sit here and talk. Nick Kurtz, who was with Wake Forest playing against Paul Skeens 2 years ago in Omaha. They're both in the major leagues. Dylan Cruz and Wyatt Langford. Like Wyatt Langford, a couple months after he was a top 5 pick and starring in Omaha, like he was threatening to make the Rangers postseason roster when they won the World Series. Like he was a legitimate threat to make that roster and ends up making the team at the start of last season. But like I said, it's really, really a short path now for the best players in college baseball to get to Major League Baseball. So I think, again, for the casual sports fan who's popping around during these next 2 weeks and flips on the games, like, no, you don't have to wait 4 years for a guy to go from low A all the way to the major leagues and get to watch him then play. Like, you're going to be seeing these guys in Major League Baseball. I mean, again, like, look at what Paul Skeens did 2 years ago. Like, we had his first start on Saturday night. And it was just an amazing scene. And like you're hanging on every single pitch that he's throwing. And again, like we had this incredible access with him 2 days before his start where we sit down with him and he's showing us pitch grips and what he does. And then like we get to tell those stories on a broadcast. So as you can tell, like I'm a broadcast nerd about this stuff and a baseball nerd and just love it. So yeah, it's the culmination of just learning the people you cover, and then getting to go watch baseball, played by the best in the country.
Mike, we'll switch gears now and talk your career path, especially at ESPN. You've called many different sports, and you are known to be very versatile in the sports that you broadcast here. What do you think is so important and key to being versatile as a broadcaster?
Just throwing yourself at what you're doing, regardless of your background. Like for me, I have my most broadcasting experience in baseball, but like there's still plenty you can learn. Lean on the people around you, like lean on the analysts. If there's something you don't understand, a term you don't understand, a strategy you don't understand, just ask the people you work with. Be curious, like research, whatever interests you, and recognize your weaknesses. Like I spend so much time with every sport that I call in the rule book. And like, we're a few months out from college football. Before college football season, I'll read the rule book front to back and just brush up on the rules. Like it's the legalese of the sport that you're doing. So yeah, try to know what you're doing. But then throw yourself at it, like I said, and just enjoy being immersed. That's kind of the verb I always use, like being immersed in that sport. Sports that are newer for me, like tennis and hockey. Yeah, like I've had to work really hard to learn those and still do. Like by no means am a finished product and have to get better learning those sports. But it's a really fun challenge to try to learn those things at the highest level. And thankfully, again, you have amazing resources of colleagues to lean on for that type of stuff.
Now, Mike, you can correct me if I read this incorrectly, but I read that you originally had aspirations to become a major league general manager. Is that true?
That is true. Yeah, I wanted growing up outside of Boston, kind of in the height of the Red Sox ascension and curse breaking time. I wanted to be CO Epstein, basically.
So what changed? What path did happen where you were like, I don't want to be in the front office anymore. I want to be in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, like I had never thought about doing media for a career. I, I think I trend a little more introverted than extroverted, and like I don't really love public speaking.
Hmm.
So it is an ironic path, if I'm using ironic correctly, which who knows if I am. It is an interesting path to take for someone like that, but. Yeah, I got to college and I had read that Theo Epstein wrote for his student newspaper when he was in college at Yale. So I thought, okay, well, if I want to be a Major League Baseball general manager, let me go be a sports writer at the student newspaper, which doesn't really make a ton of sense in hindsight. But no, I did have some experience with the student newspaper or magazine, it really was in high school. So I had like a little bit of familiarity with that. And I wanted to be around sports at the highest level in college. And that's part of why I chose to go to Notre Dame. Like, I knew I was a huge sports fan and I didn't know what I was going to end up doing, but I knew I wanted to be involved in sports. Student newspaper led me to student radio station. That led me to the athletic department, who was streaming games on its website. I think it might have been like a 1 or 2 camera web stream that we had up on UND.com, before there was even really ESPN3, much less Watch ESPN, much less ESPN Plus and ACC Network Extra. So that was the first time I did, play by play was sophomore year in college, but I just absolutely loved it. I loved the energy of feeling like you're in the live event, kind of as close as you can get to playing. And then I love the storytelling, as you can tell, like that's a big part of this for me. And I love telling people stories. Like if this player is having the best game of her or his career, why does it matter? Like, what was their journey to get to this point? What have they been working on? What was their life like to get them to this point? And I love that. I love the research component of it and trying to put it in context. Like, what's the significance of this moment for this player, this team, this coach, and what we're watching?
So you're not a public speaking fan. So how did you overcome that to get into I can't believe that.
Yeah, it is kind of funny saying that out loud. Yeah, I think you just get more comfortable with it. Like the more reps you get more experience. And for me, like I derive any sort of like confidence to go do the job. I think from my preparation in part and experience and reps. Um, but yeah, like I spend a lot of time going back and watching at least a part of every game that I do to just try to be my own harshest critic. Like that's what people taught me when I was first getting into this. And all right, like if you want to get better, like go back and watch it. And even if you don't love hearing your own voice or seeing yourself on camera and that sort of thing, like you just got to do it. So yeah, I got comfortable with it, I guess, pretty quickly. But like, and maybe this is kind of a message for any young broadcaster who might be listening to this, like it takes time too, and like I wasn't comfortable at all when I started doing it. Like I remember the first game I did ever was a Notre Dame women's soccer game against Duke sophomore year of college. And I was like whispering because I was that lacking in confidence in doing it. And that's okay. Like it takes time to figure out what your voice is and how you want to be on the air and to have the confidence to go do it. And also like I think nerves are okay. Like players talk about this, like getting nervous before a big game. Like it means you care, and hopefully you can work to overcome them. But like, it just means you care and you're excited about it in some way.
You talked about finding your voice. Was there a moment when you realized, okay, I found it?
I think I don't know if there was one specific moment, but yeah, I think like doing it more and more. Um, I know you and I have talked about this plenty in the past, but we both share time in the Cape Cod Baseball League as broadcasters, which is for anyone who doesn't know, like a summer collegiate baseball league where the best players in the world go and they get to play on Cape Cod in Massachusetts for their summer. And it's really good for broadcasters as well. And I spent 2 years there. while I was in college, calling games like you for the Wareham Gateman. And so for me, probably going back the second year was like, okay, you've done this before, you know the routines, you know what the process is like getting ready for a game. And then you've done the actual play by play of games before. So I think that was probably pretty helpful for me, like getting, a return experience sort of to the Cape League and knowing how I wanted to do the broadcast angle there.
Mike, this is my favorite part of any interview I do. It's the Fuse Five. It's five quick questions. Are you ready?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Is there a bucket list game or event that you would love to broadcast?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I think like all the big ones like World Series, Super Bowl, um, national championship, college football, March Madness, that type of stuff. Stanley Cup final, that those things certainly come to mind. Yeah, like I was a kid who grew up. I guess this is not a fast answer, but I was a kid growing up who loved every sport. So like whatever the biggest sports are, biggest events in the sports are, I love being a part of those. So all those come to mind.
Obviously, you went to Notre Dame. What was your favorite Notre Dame sports moment in your lifetime? It could be.
I would say I wasn't a fan of them before I went to school there. So my fandom started in, I guess, 2011. My sophomore year, 2012 college football season, it ended with, a loss in the national championship game to Alabama, but that whole season was incredible. And watching what Manti Te'o did that season was unreal. So those games, like goal line stand against Stanford, sticks out. That was a special season. And I was, kind of towing the line between student media and student in the student section. So I got to experience it from two very cool sides.
You mentioned the Cape League, and obviously we did broadcast both for the same team, the Wareham Gatemen. Looking back at your time in the Cape and in Wareham, what was the highlight of those two summers for you?
The relationships, the people in the organization, from front office, intern coordinators, fellow interns like I was, and then players and coaching staff. Like I still run into people on Major League Baseball teams and in Major League Baseball clubhouses and staffs who were players on our team. And like I've been standing on the field at Wrigley and Fenway and been catching up with players from our 2013 or 2014 Wareham Gateman team. And same with the coaches. Like I still talk to most of the coaches and the manager from our teams, my 2 years down there, and they baseball. Like they just let me stand around the batting cage pretty much every single day for 2 summers, 88 games, and let me just ask whatever. If they're working on a swing change with a player, like letting me stand there and listen. And the players as well were an open book with me and super appreciative for that because it showed me kind of what broadcasting in baseball is like every day.
Number four, if you could host a podcast with anyone in your phone contacts, who are you choosing?
Anyone in my phone contacts? Wow. Um, it's a really good question. I don't know if I have an overwhelming number of famous people in my phone. I would probably need them to carry me in a podcast. Who I think would be really funny is Dennis Eckersley, of course, Hall of Fame pitcher, former excellent analyst at Nesson, which does the Red Sox games, their regional sports network. Fortunate enough to do a handful of games with Eck before he retired, and I think doing a baseball podcast with him would be unbelievably enjoyable.
Then, Mike, the last question for you for the Fast Five. If an aspiring broadcaster reached out to you and said, I just need one piece of advice, what advice would you give them?
Work as hard as humanly possible, and let that take you in whatever direction your heart tells you to. But study the craft of broadcasting. Like go back and watch your own work. Go watch the work of other people in the industry who you think do it at the highest level. Reach out to them and ask for advice. Spend time watching the sport and learning the sport and being around it and spending time with the people you cover and asking them questions. Just throw yourself at it. Like you can do anything you want and set your mind to. And that sounds so cliched, and it is. But truly, like I'm a big believer in hard work can take you anywhere you want to go. And if you want to get better at something, time spent can lead you there. So yeah, that'd be my advice.
Mike, thanks so much for your time. I know this is a busy time for you leading into Omaha, and I can't wait to watch the Men's College World Series starting this Friday.
Alex, thanks, man. We really appreciate it. We certainly are proud to put it on, and I'm proud to be, one small part of the team. We got, like I said, we got an awesome group there, and we can't wait to bring it to you starting on Friday the 13th. And yeah, thank you for having me here. Really enjoyed it.
Totally. Thank you.